Welcome to Live with Kat and Dawn. Today we're excited to talk about summer activities. It's summer is here, the weather is nice, and people want to get outside. And today we're going to focus on something that's just the rage for everyone, pickleball. If I hear one more thing about pickleball from people my age, I'm just going to scream. And the old standard golf,
Right.
which lots of ladies, but every dude loves to do in the summer. But those are two things that keep us healthy and keep us social, but can get us in trouble if our bodies are not prepared for it. What do you say, Dawn?
Oh my gosh. Well, you're speaking my language, but the funny thing that I have to add is although I am a gym owner, I'm a strength and conditioning coach. My husband does an athlete training program in our gym. We have so much access to how people get injured, not in the gym, doing everyday activities and doing things for fun, that there's a lot of misconceptions about what you need to be able to play those things or why you're too old and can't play them.
Ooh, don't
I mean,
say that.
yeah, no, we don't ever say that. Now, here's the funny thing. I've literally only golfed twice in my life, and I've only played pickleball once, but you are not kidding. Everyone I know my age, which is, 64 and up, probably I should say people in their 40, that around 45, if they're in a corporate world, they've been golfing for years, especially guys. Women, as they get towards 50, are definitely starting to golf as another thing to do with their husband or their guy or whatever, or girls golfing, women's golfing. But pickleball, holy smokes. If I had $1 for every time I heard the word pickleball, I mean, it took me a while to be like, what the hell is this pickleball thing?
I know.
And then I had people try to explain it to me. And I'm like, oh, so you mean blah, blah? No. Oh, so you mean this? No. So it was just kind of funny that I finally went to watch a couple of our gym members, a guy in his 60s and his wife play. And I'm like, oh, now I get it. And this
Well,
guy, he's one of the stronger type of a guys, and his wife is not strong at all. So of course she ends up not playing the second part of the game because she kind of tweaked her back and sort of tweaked her. Well, she said knee, but it was more like the hip area. So yeah, I have a lot to say about that. But
well, in spite of all the things that can go wrong, of course, it's great for your heart health. It burns calories. I think it lowers your cholesterol and it improves your balance, your flexibility. It gets you social. It
yeah.
keeps it even, it helps your brain.
Well, there's that. Well, speaking of brain health, there's that huge thing with your footing in life. And I always refer to life and training and preparedness as preparing for the obstacle course of life, because I can't stand to say it every time, but I have to say it every time. One of the biggest reasons people end up in the hospital over the age of 60, it's really over the age of 50 in the ER, is because of a back injury. So the last place you want to injure your back is doing something you love. So back
Right.
to what you were talking about, we need to have good heart health. We need to be we need flexibility, we need mobility, and above all, we need strength. But you just can't have one without the other. So I know, Kat, when you and I were speaking the other day, talking about, what people think you need to be a good golfer. So just because I knew we were going to talk about this today, I asked a few people in my social world, whether they were or not golfers, what do you think, you need to be a good golfer? Nearly everyone said powerful arms to swing and hit the ball. Someone else said that eye-hand coordination to hit the ball and to see where it's going. So all these different answers.
Your stroke doesn't start with your arms, though. You should tell these people.
Well, and I said it's very interesting to hear golfers and non-golfers, which is really not that much difference than pickleball, baseball, bowling, anything that you need the key muscles in your body, and that is your glutes and your hips. So we just started an athlete training program for young baseball players. So right away, their coaches, their baseball coaches are like, we really want to get them running faster. We really want to get them throwing harder. We want to get their shoulders stronger. We want to build their biceps and we want to build their shoulders. And I'm like, my husband and I right away are, if you don't have glute strength and explosive power and the ability to twist and explosively move your core at the same time that your hips are stabilized by how strong your glutes are, you will not be good at any of those sports. And I don't care if you're 18 or 78, you know? So building the foundation of strength is in your lower body, which is your glutes, your hips, being able to open your hips, being able to turn your hips, being able to reach for something on the ground, to squat and reach over, whatever these motions are, they all generate from your hips and your glutes.
That's right. And you need balance to do anything strategically, to like,
Right.
you know, hit the ball. You need to be well balanced. I'm talking about baseball now, but also in golf and also in pickleball. We're talking about ball. But, you know, just how would you go about strengthening?
So it's kind of a threefold process, and this is exactly what we do. Again, if you're 18 or 70, whatever, in our gym, it doesn't matter what your sport is. Your sport is life, and your sport is aging with strength and confidence and balance and flexibility. So you would always start anything. So say you're going to go out for a good golf game and you're already a golfer. That's one thing. You want to get your heart going a little bit. You don't want to cold go out, sit in the car, get up, and then wind up and hit the golf ball. I mean, you want to have a little bit of a movement pattern, a little bit of blood flow. So maybe at home, you're going to march in place for 5 minutes, take a little walk around the block. Sure, maybe you carry your golf bag, and that's fantastic. You still have to have a little blood flow to the joints. So you want to do a couple of flexibility things, you know, whether it be a squat, an overhead reach, a couple of twists, a couple of knee to elbows, things like that. If you're already a golfer, already, you know, carrying your own cart, carrying your own bag.
You know, I've never seen anyone do that. And my short time with golf, I would just head right to the driving range because I was so, but no, because I was so embarrassed to hit it off the tee, especially on the first hole when people are all standing around. So you're uptight.
Right.
Start with. I mean, I know I am.
Some shoulder shrugs backward, shoulder shrugs forward. Pretend you're swimming. Hip circles. You want that flexibility, that mobility. Your joints have to be flexible, but they have to have some staying power. But the only thing that makes them able to hold and move and twist and bend is the muscles surrounding them. So all the twisting, stretching, and little motions that you do at home are not quite enough to get stronger or be a better golfer or better pickleball player and to prevent injury. So the things that I highly recommend that people do is get exercise bands. So a couple things that you can do at home are squat. So you put an exercise band around about 2 inches above your knees, stand with your hips wide so you feel the tension on the inside of your hips and the outside of your glutes, squat into a chair and stand up. Squat into a chair, stand up. First of all, you should be able to do that unassisted without your arms, without anything, just by squatting into a chair. If you are strong enough to do it without the chair, squat till your knees are parallel, hinge your hips backward, stand back up, hinge your hips backward. Now, the bigger tool to get stronger is putting the exercise band around the top of your knee, not on your knees, but right above your knees. Squatting back, standing up while you're pressing your knees outward. You will be surprised how taxing this is. That is because your adductors and abductors, the inner and outer thighs, are very weak. We don't do many things where we go side to side, which brings in pickleball, but which still goes back to glute and hip strength. So another exercise is laying on your back on the floor with knees bent and a band around. Again, always the band is about 2 inches, about an inch or 2 inches above your knees. You'll find your sweet spot. Just not over the knee.
You mean it's behind your legs, though? It's at your quads, not your quads, your hammies.
Nope. Your hamstrings are right below your butt. So about 2 inches above your knees.
Okay, but it's behind your legs. I'm trying to envision
You're standing with the band around your legs. Not behind.
Wrapped. Like I have a band like that. That's closed.
Yes. A circular exercise band that you're standing with around your knees, wrapped around your knees.
Okay. Yes. I was thinking you were talking about a long band.
Oh, no. Sorry. I should have made that different.
No, I have one of those. I hate it. It's so good.
Oh, well, you hate it if you're weak and you don't use it often. Another thing that's fantastic is, and we do this at the gym and it's hilarious. Myself and our 3 other coaches laugh and they say, does anyone stay squatted while you're doing side to side steps? So put the band again, step through the band. It's a circular band about that. There's different tension levels about 2 inches above your knees. squat down into a squatted position, and then step right together, left together, right together.
Oh my God.
Usually with each next step, by the third one, the person's standing up and you're like, where's your squat position? That's so hard. Right. Because you're using the outside of the muscles of your glutes, the inner thighs. You're using what are called your IT bands, the bands that connect your knee to the top of your hip. Very weak area, but that side to side. So it's like here, 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 with the band, that strengthens everything. It opens up your hips. It feels tight on your hips, and you need to kind of work that out as you get, you're not going to do a ton at once. You're going to progressively get better, progressively get stronger. But hip bridges, so that laying on the ground. Oh, we didn't finish that one because you were thinking of the band.
Right.
So with a hip bridge, same thing. The band is around your knees. You're laying on the ground on your back, feet are flat and hands are flat next to you. So you're going to bend your knees, feet are up close to your butt. You're going to press your hip bones up to the ceiling, squeeze your glutes, and lower. The whole time, this band is around your knees. So you're pressing hip bones up, pressing knees out. You're going to feel, again, the same spot, that tension on the outside of your glutes, buns, rear end, tush, whatever you want to call it, to strengthen that area. The stronger your glutes get, the stronger your quads and hamstrings and hips get, the more powerful you can hit that ball. It's not about swinging your arms from a static position. It's about driving with your hips and putting all that forceful, explosive power with that follow through your hips. The minute your hips and glutes are stronger, the rest of your body will kind of transfer into that.
So I've done those bridges with one of those squishy balls between my knees.
Okay. You can do that. Now, the only thing with a squishy ball between your knees is you're only working your inner thighs. You're not targeting the outer thighs at all. Okay. That's great. You can take a washcloth. You can take a kid's little ball. I mean, you can take a little ball. You can take a gigantic ball. That's great too. On your knees, bent knees, put the ball between your knees and press your glutes up. That's a huge thing in physical therapy, which unfortunately I've been in many times back in the past for old, weird little injuries and imbalances. But all those tools help you stay stronger or get stronger.
Now, I think that doing that would be especially good for pickleball because you're doing those side motions.
Of course. And it all is good for everything. It's like you can't separate one thing, even though, yes, with the side to side thing, because you're not really doing that in golf. But so many people that, like you said, with the balance, the obstacle course of life, you're standing on a little pavement at someone's house at a party, you take one side step and all of a sudden you're so off kilter because we don't move side to, when do we move side to side? We do tons of those side shuffles, even those without a band.
Does ab strength come into that, or core strength would also
core strength comes into it? Because if you're leaning really far forward or if you're leaning sideways, you're going to be off balance. So anytime you're going into a squat position, you want to make sure that your gravity is centered. Your feet are even wide, can't even talk, even width apart. You find your sweet spot where I used to say to my mom and dad when they came to the gym, I mean, and they were regularly in the gym at 82 and 83 years old. Right now you're standing with your feet together. I can walk over to you and tip you over with my pinky. But if your feet are separated and you're in that sort of bent, grabbing the ground, feeling the gravity and feeling your center of gravity, think of a wrestler. No wrestler stands elongated with his feet together. You're going down. It's like widen your feet, soften your knees, feel that little movement that you feel strong. And I will literally do this. I will go over to a client, because I train some older clients and say, all right, I'm going to pretend I'm going to push you over, resist me. Of course, I'm not going to run over and push them, but like I will just stand and hold on to their shoulders and just slightly nudge. When I'm slightly nudging them, they're tightening up everything like an isometric. A lot of people remember isometric exercises. For a while, they were like, oh yeah, like that does anything. Anytime you can focus on the muscle that you're using and squeeze it, whether it's your glutes right now, your biceps right now, your core right now, your quads right now, you're pumping that blood flow to the area. Every time you pump blood flow to that area, you're generating a little bit new tissue, a little bit more movement, a little bit more synovial fluid and lubricating the joints,
So are you suggesting like visualization when you're doing these workouts?
100%. No, exactly. That is perfect, Kat, because I try to explain to people that I might write it on the board. I want to explain it, and then I demonstrate it, because everyone learns differently. But if you learn which body part you're supposed to be feeling it in, yes, then you visualize. Right now, sitting in your chair, squeeze your glutes. The minute I squeeze my glutes, I lift up slightly.
Yeah.
Tighten your core. The minute you tighten your core, your rib cage opens up a little bit.
You know,
if I squeeze my shoulder blades together in the back, I feel this open up slightly. But I've
oh my God.
conditioned myself to know what muscles I'm training. And a lot of people, you know, sometimes women will come to the gym and they'll have them stand up and I'll say, all right, right now, just in that position, squeeze your glutes. And they do this arching thing. And they're like, I don't even know what my glutes, I don't have glutes. And I'm like, well, we're going to build them, you know? So it's like you get to learn what people even have a grasp on, what body. And I don't have to use I don't have to say, you know, iliotibial band, the outside of your thigh, the spot that where you step sideways, the part that you're using. I don't use fancy terms. I use layman's terms so you know what I'm trying to
so people understand what you're talking about.
I want them to, you know, I've always said, I don't want to be a trainer or a coach that you only pay attention to here. When you're at home and getting that gallon of milk out of your back seat of your car, I want you to remember me saying, squat down, keep your feet wide, brace your core. Now lift up the thing. Don't just reach willy-nilly and fling it out. And all of a sudden you throw your back out, your shoulder hurts, and you tweak your wrist or something.
I love that. You know, I tell people that in face yoga, and it's easier because we were just dealing with your face. But I mean, if it's an eye thing, I want them to think about that area. And I just love the visualization part of what you're doing, because everything you're saying is correct.
Right.
You're thinking about the movement, you will do the movement much better.
So back to the core strength, another thing that is good and it's safe. And no, you're not going to sit there doing sit-ups, because most people, all you're doing is moving your neck and your head. And people say, my neck hurts. Well, because that's not a beneficial movement. But if you're laying on your back, and I'm sure most people remember this, and just putting your hands behind your head and doing that old school bicycle, so knee to elbow, and trying to keep your shoulders slightly lifted, try to get your right elbow to your left knee. Just a couple of those, if you're not conditioned and trained, you will feel your core. Now, the idea behind that is to flatten your belly and scoop your pelvis in. The minute people say that hurts my back, so think of if you're laying on the ground and you want to arch your back, you're laying flat, you want to arch your back, the first thing is your stomach's going to come off the ground. Now imagine laying on the ground, bending your knees and putting your feet planted right at the edge of your butt. Now you're going to scoop your pelvis in toward you, almost like a pelvic tilt.
Yes.
Right there, your core is engaged. That's the position you start any core exercise on your back. Because if you're all flat with that little bit of an arch, the first motion you go into, you're going to feel it in your lower back because you already have the arch. So the idea is to scoop your pelvis in. Right away, sitting in a chair, scoop your pelvis in. Right away, my core is tighter. So that's the position you want to start your bicycles in. A plank, going into a plank is like almost like you're going to do a push-up. So you're on the ground, your hands are directly underneath your shoulders, your fingers, you have your fingertips kind of ground in. Some people say, oh, I can't do a plank, it hurts the palm of my hand right there. Imagine pressing your fingertips in so you diffuse the weight a little bit differently. And the other thing is in a plank, and I even see this with some of the most conditioned people in our gym, they've got a little sag between their shoulder blades.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine you are locking out and pushing the ground away from you. The minute you do that, you see people's core engage, you see their glutes tighten, you see their hamstrings tighten. So I should be able to come over to anybody in a plank. And I used to do this. I always bring up my mom and dad. Of course, my dad has passed now, but they were amazing listeners. And they said, because you're a good coach. And I'm like, well, must have got some of it from them. But you know, they'd be in a plank position. And I'd say, I'm going to walk over and stand next to you. And I'm going to nudge you with my knee. You should not tip over. My mom at first would be like, oh, I don't like that idea. And I'm like, well, then tighten up. You know? So they'd tighten up, but I could see they were tight. And I'd come over. And the minute I got closer to them, they're getting tighter and tighter because they think she's going to knock me over. You know, I would barely nudge them with my knee. And they were so tight. I have pictures of my parents doing planks that trumped anybody in their 20s, you know.
That's awesome. What do you think about forearm?
Forearm plank is harder because you're closer to the ground and you have to engage a little bit more. Although if you do have the wrist, you know, I have a little bit of a wrist to elbow thing.
You could maybe go back and forth.
Yes, I do. A forearm plank sometimes is a little easier on the wrists. It's harder on the core, harder on the glutes, but more beneficial. So I will pop back up into a hand plank and then pop back down into a forearm plank.
But yeah, I had a coach who made me do those hip dips on the forearm plank.
Oh yeah,
that
and
was hard work.
that, yeah. Anything that you can do in a plank position that, you know, creates a weird sense of balance. I mean, what do? You're not going to face plant on the floor. You might tip over and laugh and feel embarrassed, but I do that as well. With you're in a plank position, try shoulder taps, try controlled lifting, try heel raises, lifting a foot behind you. I mean, it's amazing to move your foot that inch off the ground while you're in a plank position. You've got to tighten up everything. I mean, and some people say, I can't move my foot an inch, you know, and it's like, well, try.
Yeah, because it's kind of a scary thing if you're not used to it, because you're scared about your balance.
But that's what I mean. When you're balancing and you're this far from the floor, you're not falling anywhere. You might look goofy and laugh for a minute, but you're not going to just completely flop and face plant. I mean, it's a very controlled environment that you're not going to hurt yourself. So
well, I want to ask you a question about my, you know, my lower back is a little weak. And what do you think about deadlifts?
Well, a deadlift is a spectacular move if you have spectacular form. So what a deadlift actually is you have a weight sitting in front of your toes. And in order to pick up the weight, and I explain this regularly, whenever you are picking up any weight, a grandchild, a kettlebell, your dog, you don't want them far away from your feet. The further away you have to reach, the more strain that gets put on your back.
Oh, right.
The idea is it's two options. So a deadlift is a little bit different, but say you're going to pick up your dog off the ground. You want your feet wide. You want them knees slightly soft. You're going to hinge your hips back as if almost like you're going to sit back into a chair. Then you grasp the dog close to your body. Then you drive your heels through the ground as you come to a standing position. The only place you're going to feel this is in your butt and your quads. Because you can balance, you're going to feel it in your core. You're going to strengthen your core. You're going to strengthen your lower back. The second you move an inch away, you're reaching for the dog and going to pick him up. You're helping your parent to get in and out of bed to go to the bathroom, which I have many friends and clients right now that are helping very aged parents with mobility and falls. And I tell them all the time, I know you, thank God you're helping your parent, but be very careful of being very mindful of your own body posturing when you're helping people.
Oh, absolutely.
Or picking up anything. So as far as a deadlift goes, with a deadlift, the move is you put your hands in front of you and you pack your shoulders back. You squat down by hinging your hips backward and keeping your chest up. Should I demonstrate?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I will do it without a weight. Let's see if I can get
Okay.
a great angle in my little room here. So let's see. Okay.
You're such a good sport. Thank you.
Okay. So first of all, a squat is here. So, you know, when you tell people to squat and they go like this, you're not going to sit into a chair like that. So a squat is hands out for balance in front. I'm squatting back, my hips hinge backward. I drive my heels up and squeeze my glutes and elongate. So that's a squat. Now a deadlift, I don't have a weight to lift. Well, actually I have a kettlebell sitting right here.
Oh, of course you do.
Just happen to have a kettlebell sitting here. So let's see. Oof. This is a heavy one too. Gosh. Okay, I'm not warmed up, so do not try this at home. So a kettlebell is, can you see it? Probably.
Yeah. Okay, move back a little bit.
So the idea is I'm going to lift up this kettlebell in a deadlift position. So I'm going to put my hands out first. I'm going to hinge my hips back. I'm going to squat forward, but my chest is up. The kettlebell, I don't know if you can see, is right between my feet. It's not in front of me. I'm going to lift it here and then down. Here and then down. So I have zero strain on my back. I'm not rounded. I'm not like this. My back is flat. All my weight is driving through my heels. My glutes are low, and I'm going to drive through the ground and elongate my spine. I'm not lifting anything with my upper body going to there. And I'm going to move it out of the way.
That is so good. You know, when I took a class, a weight class, and we did that deadlift, and I thought, what the hell is this? This can't
But
be
a lot of
doing.
people can get hurt the second you round your back the littlest bit, or the kettlebell or the dumbbell or whatever the weight is. The grandchild is far out in front of your body.
Right.
It's only natural to reach, which rounds your back. And a lot of people want to see what they're lifting. So the minute your chin is down, my back is rounded.
Yes.
So I keep my back, my shoulders packed and my gaze forward, even though my lower body is shifting into a lowering position. All the weight comes from the hips hinging backwards,
Mm-hmm.
and then driving the heels through the ground. Even you can do this right now if you're watching. So put your feet flat on the floor. You're sitting on the edge of your chair. I'm going to come to a standing position, not by moment. I'm driving my heels into the ground, and then I'm hinging my hips back to sit. Driving my heels into the ground, hinging my hips back to sit. That little motion is amazing how many people cannot do that without momentum, or, then when you get to the advanced part, then you do it on one leg.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So it's just like anything. Anybody can adapt. Anybody can get stronger. Make sure you're confident in a controlled atmosphere. Don't just all of a sudden start out with deadlifts if you're not even used to hinging your hips back or squatting or have bands. That's definitely an advanced move.
Sometimes though I do them at home with just like a 10-pound barbell and dumbbell, and I keep my weights really close to my front of my legs.
Yes. And that's exactly what they have you do. And it's funny that you mentioned that. So if you're using a barbell, which is the long bar, or two dumbbells, it's almost like you have to imagine, because it's not really going to happen. You have to imagine that you're dragging them up your shins as you come to the stand. And when you learn that with a barbell, after years of kettlebell deadlifts and dumbbell deadlifts, you get a barbell, and the first thing you think of is, I don't want to drag that against my shins. So people take a step backward, and you tell people, you start with the bar touching like right above your ankles, right at your shins, because the minute you hinge your hips back, you're separating the distance, but you don't want to go forward. So it's a lot of training. And again, that is a very advanced move.
It seems so simple. And I really didn't realize it was an advanced move. But now, okay, so if we're speaking about golf and pickleball, what if you do both? What motions would you do? What practices would you do?
And back to, I can't stress enough, any motion in life, you need stronger glutes, you need stronger side to side. So start with exercise. We'll start with body weight. Start with body weight. Start with, so we'll break it down super easy. We'll do hip bridges. So that's laying on the floor, no bands, no nothing. Your feet are flat right at the bottom of your butt with your knees bent. Palms are laying right here. You're going to press up, squeeze your glutes at the top, hold for a second, and drop down with control. Do that 8 times, sets of 3. I mean, if you can do that, 3 times in a row with 8 reps, so 8 repetitions, if it's easy, then you're already ready to take a band. Then you'd wrap the band around your knees, keeping the knees pressed out. The idea is to constantly have tension. So the more tension that your muscles get used to, the stronger they will become. So there's that. Then you could do side to side steps, just without bands or anything. So like a side to side shuffle all the way to the right for 4 steps, all the way to the left, but staying in the squatted position. That helps the side to side motion. Anything like that with exercise bands is fantastic. The core exercise, the bicycle while you're on your back. So those are super safe. Surprisingly, it's amazing how tight people are. There's an exercise that you can do. It's hard to explain. So that's great for opening the hips up. So if you are, I don't know if I can show this. Let's see. So I don't think I can show it, but so what you would be doing is, if you're laying on the ground, sitting on the ground like this, you're going to go back and forth with the knees like this. It's almost like a windshield wiper. Do that while your hands are here. So you're opening up the hips back and forth. Now lay on your back and do the same thing. So your palms are out at your sides. Your knees are to the left, to the right. They're close up to your, core, but with control. So that twisting, controlled, not just flapping and landing. Slow and controlled. You're using your obliques, which are those muscles that are right there that hold your body upright. You're using the center of your core. And again, with that little bit of a hip scoop, that pelvic tilt in, you're not going to injure your lower back. So people think, oh, I can't do lower back exercises. I don't have a strong lower back. And it's like, you don't have a strong lower back because you haven't exercised everything around it. Same
That's very big in yoga. I mean, what you just said.
Yeah.
You know, those twists like that with the
And
knees
people that talk about, I have bad knees. You know why people have bad knees? Because they have very weak muscles around their knees that support them. They have very weak quads, which are the muscles that extend from the top of your knee to your hips. People have bad hips because they have weak quads or tight quads. Again, that muscle that's on the front of your leg. That's a really big muscle. So is that muscle, your hamstring, that ties in from your butt to the back of your knee. If those are weak, okay, so this brings me to when you are warmed up, when you've done some of those exercises, those side-to-side band squats, those standing band squats, the, you know, anything with a band with the hip bridges up. Now you want to make sure you're slightly flexible. The blood is flowing a little bit. So now you could even do, you know, you don't want to do that. You see people folding forward and just trying to grab their ankles, and they say, oh, I can't touch my ankles. Well, good, because that looks like an accident waiting to happen. Sitting on the floor and separating your legs as much as you can and walking your fingertips forward, but not rounding. You know, people go so much farther when they're rounded, but you're not engaging anything. So it's like extending right here, shoulders back. You might only walk your fingertips that far and think you can't touch your toes. That's okay. You're going to feel that hamstring pull, that muscle slightly stretching from the back of your knee all the way up underneath your butt.
You know what? I'm inspired. I'm going to get on my mat. I've been working all morning. And I'm going to get on my mat and stretch out a little bit and do.
And that's a good thing to do after a walk. People love walking. And I say walking is means of getting out in fresh air and clearing your head and getting off of your tech stuff. But after you come in from a walk is a perfect time to do a little strength training workout or a little stretching, you know, session, because you've got the blood flowing. You're already ready to move. And it's a great time that you're not going to hurt anything. So instead of an hour walk, take a half-hour walk or take a 15-minute walk and then do something that maintains your strength or builds your strength.
I love this because all of this, well, I mean, I'm older than you, but we're both in our 60s, and this will keep us vibrant and strong and confident.
Yes.
I mean, when you feel strong, you feel confident.
And it goes back to the original part of why we are on here today, is talking about fun stuff to do in the summer, ways to stay social, ways to stay active, but nothing is worse than being sidelined with an injury. It's depressing. Oh, yeah. It makes you not be able to get outside, but they're so preventable, you know, so practice these things. I know I was a little all over the place. Didn't really think I was going to be demonstrating today.
I know. I think
I have my kettlebell right there. Right. Right.
Okay. Well, you know, people could do, I know in one of your newsletters, you did was it a 7-minute thing? It was a 7-minute.
Well, I do have that. If you want to post the link, that is a product that you can actually, it's follow along workout sessions. They're more like movement patterns to create strength and build balance. They're 7-minute long.
Right.
So
and I've been doing those.
Long. Right.
And at first, when I first started doing it, I was getting tired from the warm up and I thought, this is not good. But I'm not anymore.
No, and you can adapt at your own pace. So it's a very easy thing that if people are interested in taking it, you know, really getting the full body strengthening in 7 minutes, it's really not that big of an investment, you know.
That's great help. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll put that info below. And I think, again, I'm so happy that we were able to get together and share this stuff. I think it will really make your summer better.
I think so too. And be sure to share the links to your face yoga, Kat. You know, we want all the body parts to feel lifted and confident and feel good.
You know what? I feel like I explain this like a classic car. If you're going to keep a classic car that's full of memories that you want to keep forever, you're going to maintain it. And every bit of maintenance you put into it is going to feel like love.
I love that analogy. So yes, yes. All right, Kat. Thank you. As always, this has been awesome. And I hope people have some takeaways to practice today for golf, pickleball, and the obstacle course of life, right?
The obstacle course of life. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for being here with us.
Thanks, Kat. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye. Thanks, everybody.